People cannot survive on $900 a month.
I think one of the things that we have to be very aware of, and we've brought it up several times in the course of these discussions, is this is not the Karnes County that it was 3 years ago. It's a whole new atmosphere here. Nothing's the same. You know, we're not San Antonio, we're not Dallas or Austin, but the whole view here has changed, and we need to offer our, especially the rank and file, people that work out here, the motor graders and the administrative assistants. I mean, they can't $10 an hour. They can't. Price of hell, they can't fill their gas tanks at $3 off a gallon at $10 an hour. I think we need to be more aware, and it's 15, and be fair, and this 15% rule just needs to go away.
Do we have people making less than, say, $12 an hour or $10 an hour?
Yes.
I don't know.
We do. We've got a lot of people who are in grossly underpaid peons. I mean, and for a long time, there wasn't any choice. County didn't have any money to pay them. And the tax rates were 70 cents when they
So we're giving the upper people a bigger raise and the lower ones that are making such a medium amount, we're not giving them money?
The ones that are doing the work are underpaid.
It's kind of hard to say. I mean, it's going to affect people at all different levels. But what I could have, if it's possible to do it, and I know it's possible, but I don't know how long it takes. Well, it would be calculated if we just took all the wraps off, no 15% or anything, and just paid
Every position.
every position at mid-level.
Except for the elected officials, unless we hear different.
Yeah, unless we hear different.
Okay, can I request that you post a special meeting for Thursday afternoon to review these changes?
Yes, sir.
It seems to me that you need a system where you're going to adopt and bring those up that are at the lower level. And at that point, you won't be able to raise some of those in a higher pay. But it seems to me like you got to come up with some kind of system to raise those lower ones so that they can live. And
well, the system that they did was they surveyed 7 different counties and tried to find positions that had the same job description. And they found the low that somebody with that job position gets, the high, and the medium. And our aim was to try to get people to the medium. Okay? They put a couple of caveats in there. One of them is the 15% rule. And they had this 15% rule basically said that even if it's required to get the person up to mid-level, we can't, we're not going to be able to raise more than 15% a year. And that's what Mr. Hancock's been addressing. And
you could, if
there's some logic to it.
What I would call out of range, the high echelon people. If you say cut them back to 10% and give the lower ones 20%. And that's going to take some sacrifice.
I don't think they are out of range. I don't think the higher people.
No.
You know what?
But here's what you could do. Here's what you could do.
We want to reward people to work if we can and make it a place they can say, well, I can go to work there and make a living for my family. And that also, we want to have good performance. Pay raises ought to mean good performance. Pay raises for the position ought to mean attractive candidates wanting the job instead of just the dregs. And, you know, that's certainly our objective, but, you know, we have to work through this thing to get there. Now, I think their mid-range salaries that they have fixed are fair to everybody. I think whoever gets paid that salary will be a fairly paid county employee for the job they do. And this is objectively looking at it. as we go through the years, we need to start evaluating our personnel, giving them scores, evaluations, just like businesses do. And any kind of future raises you get are based on your job performance. And I think that's fair, but we got to have a starting point. We're not there.
Did your salary survey take into consideration the health insurance package and the retirement package? I'm not trying to be, I'm all for a fair wage, but I've listened to the health insurance bids, and it seems like, Luana, you can say what the average $400 or $500 a month per employee that we spend on health insurance. You have to add that on to the salary. Plus, we do a 2-for-1 retirement. So we do need to include that. If that was eliminated off the salary survey, we should also consider that.
It was supposed to be included.
Okay.
Ms. Aldridge, just an example, my clerks are getting paid $10.50 an hour, and the minimum proposed for them is $12.36, but that's over the 15%, so the proposed then would go to $12.08 an hour.
But Richard said to bring everyone up
At least to the minimum.
And the minimum would be $12.36 for them. Midpoint is $13.59 for the clerks.
Judge, we've got a whole level from midpoint to the high range to operate on next year. But we are, the way the budget and the way we're talking at this time is you're dealing with those that are on the bottom in a different way than you're dealing with the ones in the high level. And
Really not. It's
you got to bring those off the bottom, Judge, up to a level where you at least can pay your rent, and that's the part that I'm asking about.
Can I make a recommendation to the Commissioner Court? I'll be brief, very brief. I'd like to ask the Commissioner Court to consider that every county employee has a very base salary.
Microphone.
I'd like to recommend that the Commissioner's Court consider that the base salary for any employee in the county be $13.50 an hour, and go from there and bite the bullet.
Yes, ma'am.
We have been blessed as a county, but it's just like at Christmas time and you want to buy everybody every cool thing you see in the store because you really love them. We can't annihilate the budget by raising everything immediately because we have been blessed in the last 3 to 5 years. You're exactly right, Judge, when you say we have to do it incrementally or this is going to be a hit that this county cannot sustain. Not everyone has been blessed by having royalties, by working in the higher administration levels of the oil field service company. We have some folks that are struggling with what's basically rape of our rental housing market, our grocery stores, all of our retailers. It's absurd. We're treating these people, we're treating our own citizens. We're holding them hostage. Our county, we can't sustain it. You're exactly right when you say we have to do it incrementally, or it's a hit that our county's not going to be able to live with. Because this oil boom is not going to last. It is going to have an end. And if the oil bigwigs are to be believed, they're saying the 30 years that they had hoped is not a reality. Because we now do have some history. And the dramatic decline in production is going to have a huge impact on the income in this county. We're not going to be able to pay the taxes. We're not going to be able to afford the higher valuations. And we have to think into next year and future years, not just what we want right now because we have this cool blessing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike?
Yeah, my theory on all this is I think we got to go to mid-level because, like she was saying, just because the oil field's here, hey, we got to pay this too. My guys are making $11 an hour, $10.50 an hour. They got all this cost that we're absorbing too. If we take them to mid-rate, you're going to bite it one time, and then after that, you can budget for it. And my personal opinion, we need to get them up to where you've got competition out there. Right now, everybody walks in the office and says, "Oh, hey, it's $11." I ain't gonna. They won't even work as a laborer for me. We need to get to mid-range because we got a lot of jobs and it's picking up.
Okay, we gotta decide what we're gonna do. We're not going to actually adopt the budget until Friday. We are going to discuss all these departments today, try to reach consensus. It seems we're rolling along pretty well, except we hit this one issue, and that is, should we immediately jump everybody to the mid-level, or should we continue to have enforced the 15% rule as a limit to how big somebody's pay increase can be this year? Not next year, but this year.
Judge, are you asking us to make that decision like right now? I understand we're not. I understand we're not voting on it.
We need to see how much money's involved.
How much extra money?
We need to know how much extra money that costs us. I think Alana can calculate that, at least give us a ballpark estimate before Friday. And when we meet Friday, we'll have a budget that we can draw up two ways. One is sitting there saying, "Thanks a lot." One,
no different than any other year.
One using the 15% and limit, and one not. And let's look at it.
But Richard, make it clear that the 15% doesn't apply to anyone below minimum.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that can be as much as is required to get everybody at least a minimum.
Yes.
Now, I would hope that minimum is somewhat sustainable or not too terribly low.
Well, you can assume it's a lot better than what they're getting now.
That's what I'm thinking is minimum.
And
is
if
still
they're below
okay.
minimum, they're going to go as much above minimum as 15% will allow them. If under the 15% rule. If they're so much below minimum that 15% stops them from getting the minimum, we're going to go ahead and take them up to minimum. Now that's alternative one. The other one is forget about the 15%. Just take them to the mid-level. Okay?
James, you have something? Yeah, now that I clear my throat, I hope. My opinion is, I understand the judge that it was the salary survey to keep it at the 15. That's not something he made up or we made up. But if I keep them at using the 15% rule, that's still going to keep them lower. My opinion only here right now is to do away with that rule and just go ahead and bring everybody to the mid-level. That's what we did, a salary survey. I didn't know they were going to come up with a 15% rule. I thought it was going to be just a low, medium, and high. With the 15% rule, that kind of keeps you down. That's keeping the people that are making low, keeps them lower and lower. So I think that we can make that decision. We can do away with that. And I would recommend on my behalf to do away with that and just put everybody at the mid.
For those of you who are worried, well, we're talking about adding more money to the budget. And there are a lot of people in there already protesting 30 cents. I'll assure you that I've got some ideas on how to relieve some of that pressure and to actually result in a lower rate perhaps than 30%, 30 cents, get it down much closer to rollback rate. Those are just thoughts. My personal belief is we ought to have a 30-cent rate and the budget is drawn up, but if the council, or if the council, I keep calling you council, if the commissioners want to do something else, we can sure do it. I've got some ideas on how to do that. We'll talk about it shortly. Let's take about a 10-minute break for everybody to get up, get some water, get some relief.
Here, try to find me some water when I came over.
We have one proposal that I made a modification to what the bottom line recommendations were from the Seeking survey people. That took that budget up another $500,000. A recommendation has been made, and when I say the budget, I'm talking about all the employee pay. The recommendation has been made that we remove the 15% cap, and I cannot quantify at this point in time how much that would be. Now, whatever it is, these numbers, we have to make it up somewhere. And so we're going to have to talk about ideas on where we can do some things that I think would result in enough cuts where we can get down closer to the rollback number. So do we want to make a decision now about what we're going to do on the employment? Do you want to go with the proposal, or do you want to go and just eliminate the 15% rule?
I say eliminate it.
I agree with eliminating 15%.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Could you eliminate it on the hourly paid people, but not the salary? I mean, to where the low people are get a little bit more than
The majority of your employees in the county are on salary, just your part-timers are hourly, and so the salary people may still only be making $9.45 an hour, $10.50 an hour, something like that.
If you calculate it that way. But they'd be salaried.
I agree with that. I agree with that, but I think you gotta take a good hard look at some of the appointed officials. Some of them may not warrant that midpoint, in my opinion. I was hoping we could see a pay plan where you had an entry level and a midpoint of each range, and then, max out over time. I just don't want us to see us get in a position when you have somebody that you just hired and they start at the same rate as somebody that's been here.
That's right.
To me, that's not a fair, equitable thing. And two, you have to ask yourself, I've been asking myself some of these questions, is this, okay, what is the increase in salary, which I understand, I know that we need to pay our people to the point where they're not, having a burden placed on them for, paying the state for the county insurance or even having a place to live. I know working for the state, I know a lot of people that work there, they were suffering because they could not, some didn't have gas money to come to work every day. And that was a sad situation at times. But you have to ask yourself too, and I think every elected official needs to ask himself, one, in your department, you know what your people are worth. Do you want to pay them that salary? And then what are you going to expect from them? You're going to give them a good salary, a good interest. Say we go to a midpoint, which to me is a very good salary. Is their work proficiency going to increase over that? Are they going to come to work? Because, we do have an attendance problem in this county. But you're going to have to ask yourself, everybody's going to have to step up, including elected officials, on how we manage our people. But I agree with the Commissioner Yar and Commissioner Rosales that we need to at least get to the midpoint. But then after that, the following year, maybe we need to implement a plan where whatever the COLA is at the time, that's the only increase anybody would get, and go forward from there. There's going to be a time when we may have to go reverse. I don't know. But we need to maintain what we have and try to, as the judges said and other people have said too, that we need to attract a good quality of person to work. But we need to have a good entry level for somebody here to come in, that wants to come here, but yet we need to maintain the respect of the employees that are here providing the service they have been for a while. That's all I have. I'm sorry.
I agree.
All right, let's see if I understand that. Mike?
why can't y'all develop longevity pay or something like that for all these other employees who've been here a long time, because they've served this county quite a bit. And they should be making it.
Here's how I kind of look at that, is that needs to be the HR director's responsibility to determine how to set up, we're just coming in, here's the pay. This is just base pay. Entry level, they determine, well, what should somebody enter at to get there? Can it get above that other than a COLA? Probably not, unless circumstances change further and we just can't hire good people. That's another problem is we think, right, those mid-levels take care of it. And I think it will. But what's going to happen if we have a particular position that we really need filled, we can't fill it. That can happen. And that's one of the things I wanted the contingency fee for, is to make adjustments like that. I can't make a lot of adjustments to $250,000, but I make some. All right, let's see if I understand the proposal. Coming from the right, it sounds like take everybody to mid-level, no matter how long they've been there, start them there, and then from this point forward, new hires, we're going to have our personnel director, our HR director, decide if they need to come in slightly lower. And a lot of that's going to depend too on what the qualification of the person coming in is. The person may come to you and want a job, and he is really experienced, or she is really experienced, educated, very suitable for the job, very impressive in the interview and everything. You may decide, I need to pay this person mid-level. That's my max, well, I need to pay them that. Whereas somebody may come to you and want a job and they don't have those qualifications. They don't have the proper either education or experience, or that whatever that it factor is makes you think it'll be a great employee. You may not want to pay that. And if that's the best you could get, you'd start them off at something closer to minimum. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
So, Judge, what you're saying is we have a low, a medium, and a high, right? If it's a new hire, they start off at the low?
New hires, I'm going to leave it up to the personnel director to decide. Right? Or at least make a recommendation.
The mid-range in.
Mid-range is in, as far as I'm concerned. And we're going to have to calculate what that is. I got an idea, but the difference it'll make, it's going to drive that number up a little bit. Now, the best thing about this is Scott Hall told me, he said, right now, what we're doing, the lion's share of the money we're spending, tax revenues, is coming from the oil and gas industry. A lot of it. And the opportunity to have funding like that available to you to move your county forward is pretty rare. It may not come again in our lifetimes, and I'd like to take enough advantage of it that we can get this place up off its feet and really moving. So I think that's what we all want. Everybody wants that, but we're just not sure exactly how to do it. And we will talk. I'm going to tell you that we're going to have to make some cuts to get there. And so we're going to be talking about that too. All right? We've got a consensus on what's happening with the salaries. And Madam Auditor, if you'll make those modifications so we can have it ready to go Friday. All right, let's see. Well, Panther County Attorney, is that it you had to say, Herb? You done?
That's all I had. Thanks very much, Judge, for listening to me.
You bet. All right. County Auditor Department's budget basically set by the district judges. Any questions on that? At least the salaries are.
I do want to point out the cell phone would be a physical cell phone. It is not a cell phone allowance that would not be going through payroll. the county would be providing the department with a cell phone, just like they do the sheriff's department, the 911 addressing, emergency management, etc.
Didn't that happen in the past, in the $1,200, we did add it to people's budget, $100 each month? Didn't that happen in the past?
That is how it was rolled into. It used to be itemized out as a cell phone allowance through payroll, but it was rolled into their payroll last year.
Do we have a consensus on the auditors?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Any comments?
No, that's good.
County Treasurer Department, Bonnie, you're here.
Yes, sir.
What you gotta say?
I sent a memo out, emailed it to Tracy, and then I sent it to your office on Friday on asking you to put back my part-time help. As you heard with the JPs being busier and the county clerk and the district clerk being busier, there's more funds coming into it, which makes my office a little bit busier because we have to receive the money in. Sorry, I'll comment. So I would like that part-time position brought back in. Also, I can see by the publication in the paper I did not get a raise, which I think is discrimination based on two people's personal opinions on my job performance. I'm not the only person responsible for those books, but yet you're holding me accountable for that. You see my proposed budget request on there. I am taking the furnishings equipment out on there. That's just something we wanted to put in there. That's not a big deal. Part-time clerk at 20 hours at $13 an hour. I would like to see that go to $12 an hour is fine, considering that the mid-range rate would be the 1506. Of course, that's going to have to be someone who has payroll experience on that, because that's the main duty of that clerk. So I can drop down the part-time clerk to $12 an hour. The part-time clerk basically is going to do filing for me. Whenever we write, we call them hand checks. There's a copy that goes to the auditor's office. There's a copy that goes to my office. There's books we have to put those into. Just the reports that we get monthly and weekly from the JPs that they need to be filed. It just, everything else in my office, sometimes it just gets run behind. Also, what I'm wanting to do is purge some of the employee records that we have. The old retention record used to be forever. Now it's fiscal year plus 75 years. But some of that stuff that we have in there, we don't have to keep forever. And I have a filing cabinet full of past employees, plus a box with employees in there also, and I can get that person to start purging and getting rid of some of the information that we don't have to have. Like if they've made employee changes on their insurance 10 years ago, we don't have to keep that. Just basic information, the employees' information, I think beneficiaries on their retirement, things like that. Things that we have to have by law for that 75 years, we'll keep that. But there's things in there that we can probably purge out of there. But I would like that part-time clerk position be put back in. And I don't really need a computer or a desk for them. I have a table, a little portable table that can be in there. They're not going to be receiving money in. They're not going to be putting anything into the computer. So right now, I don't need any extra equipment for them. But there are some of the things that my office does. We are responsible for payroll, quarterly reports, which include state fine report, civil reports, drug report, 941, unemployment tax, retirement report. Some of the things that I've done since I've been here, started the health and wellness programs. We've also done some safety workshops, which I've been part of coordinating active shooters. We had a Homeland Security person come in and do active shooter, violence in the workplace, sexual harassment, workshop, burnout, and peace in the courthouse. We had TAC come in and do that. And one of the things that I am is the investment officer for the county. I'm the only investment officer that's been trained to do that. So if you're not going to raise my salary, I'm going to, as of October 1st, no longer be the investment officer.
Well, I know that other departments that came here and said they got busy. If they're busy, I'm sure
Right.
you're busy too.
Right.
There's no way they're busy and you're not busy. So
Right.
I don't have a problem with putting in back to part-time help for 20 hours at $12 per hour.
Yes.
That's just my opinion.
Because basically it's clerical work is what they're going to be doing.
Yes, that's what she said, 12, so I'm in agreement with that.
I've got an alternative proposal. Sometime back, several weeks back, I made a motion that we have a constitutional amendment abolishing the office of county treasurer. I've rethought that for a while, and I believe that a more effective approach to our problem, and by we've had one. I first encountered this when we couldn't get our audit performed on your office by the outside auditing firm, and we went back and forth on what they needed, and you were telling them that you would get it, told me repeatedly here
And I was working on it,
in
sir.
court that you would get it. I'm sure you were, but you weren't able to.
Correct.
And I've seen the records, and I've seen what they show, and you're not keeping them correctly. And it's not anybody else's fault. I mean, the auditor's records may be off too. I don't know. I haven't looked at those yet. But yours were. And you failed repeatedly in about a 5-month period, I think 40-something times, to deposit cash within the time period that you're required by law to do.
Correct. I
Repeatedly violated that law. And, you know, you can't, I don't know where the cash to. There's one instance where I saw you took a cash deposit and didn't deposit it for like 3 or 4 months. I don't know where it was. I don't know what it was doing. But we can't keep that up and keep confidence in our county government. So what I propose we do is this. Leave you in your position, and we hire, as a county, a chief financial officer reportable to the county judge and the commissioner's court. They'll be reporting to them regularly to receive the monies of the county, receive those monies, deposit those monies in a timely fashion, and to keep the books of the county. And you can also keep books of the county. You can also keep financial records. You can base it on the things they have. You can independently look over whatever you want to do. And you'll probably also write the checks for the county, countersigned by the auditor. And we will have additional protection for our county's assets. We'll have you, we'll have the auditor, and we'll have this independent person working as the chief financial officer for the county. Pardon me. That will assure that our money gets received and deposited in a correct basis, and they will be in charge of doing the investing. I think that will take a great deal of the burden off of you that has been so hard to perform. And I understand this job is not what it was when you took it a few years ago. It has become a totally different, much more burdensome creature. And I feel for it. I understand that. So that's how I would suggest that we do it. I've got a proposed revised budget line item to take care of that. And you will get to maintain your office. You will get to help participate in monitoring the county's finances. I want you to. And so you can make sure, we'll have 3 lines of protection for the money in view of past problems. I'm not going to let Jim know about past problems. Treasurer's office. I think it's good to have another line of protection in there. And that's what I propose we do.
The only thing that I have, and maybe Herb can help on this, is about the receiving of the money and the taking in of the money. I'm not sure if that person, I mean, that person can, like right now, Julie takes, I'm sorry, my past employee would take in the money. She would receipt in the money. But I don't know, I mean, there's going to have to be a lot of planning on. I agree, we need help in that office. It's grown, and if we're going to hire more people
the help will
in
be
the past.
related. The help will be, it won't be in your office, it'll be for the county commissioners. They will perform some of the duties that were performed by you in the past, but they will be acting under the auspices of the commissioner's court. And I think that will alleviate the problem.
I mean, there's a certain thing by law that I'm the only person that can do. I'm not arguing that we need some help in there. I just want to make sure that you five guys, when you make this decision, that you're following the law according to what needs to be done.
We're certainly going to do that. I've received some advice from a certain senator's office on how to get this done. I think a lot of counties are moving in that direction. Instead of abolishing the treasurer's office, they simply remove the things that you really need to have a CPA kind of do, or you really need to have someone who's really, really trained in accounting do from the treasurer, and the treasurer fulfills other functions. And to me, it's kind of a win-win for everybody.
Okay, so like what other functions would I be doing?
Well,
payroll.
We may be doing payroll, but we're gonna have to see. We're trying to revise the government. What I want is the county government to be very professional, and I want the county to be very professional in the way they treat their money. I want them to be very professional in the way they treat their employees. It's not the old Karnes County anymore.
Right,
And
I
so
agree. I
we need to
wholeheartedly
move
agree.
forward and.
I'd put 2 more full-time people in there if y'all would let me.
Well,
And if we're going to do that, then that's part of the issue. But there are certain things that the county treasurer is responsible for.
Well,
and we just need to make sure that that happens.
There are, but I think the money belongs to the county.
Right.
And the county can route it however it wants to. Now, it may be that we have to, our CFO can receive the money and all that, and then they send it to you and you receive it again. But we'll have another line, and I feel like this way we can enforce the law regarding when collections are made, and we can have a set of books that we can trust. I mean, you want that, and I know.
Right.
I know the auditor wants that. We want it to where we're going to be able to trust what we see.
Right.
And it's going to be a little transition period here, figuring out exactly what they can do and what they can't do, and what you have to do, and what the auditor does. And I want the auditor to be the auditor. I don't want them to be part of your department or part of this office. The office I'm talking about setting up department. It's going to be a separate entity.
Right.
And see if we can get this thing set back on track. Okay?
Okay.
Any other questions, gentlemen? And depending upon, and this is part of the contingency thing I want to set aside, depending upon how much responsibility we can set on this new chief financial officer, that will determine how much work you're still left with and whether or not you need the assistance of anybody.
Part-time.
Yes. Okay?
Okay. Or a part-timer.
So well, you don't have any assistant right now. She retired.
But I still have the position.
Right.
I'm assuming it's still in my budget.
Well, I don't know if we'll need it. It depends on how much is left in your workload. Okay?
Okay. But you need 2 people in that office, though. You really need 2 people in that office. Because if I'm gone for conferences or whatever, my office needs to be open.
I understand.
And if I'm gone for a week for vacation, and there's money brought in, and then my office needs to receipt it in, and somebody needs to be doing that.
Unless we're receiving it somewhere else. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, I've got a revised version of this based on setting up the other department, the Chief Financial Officer Department. And it'll also result in reductions on the Treasurer's budget, but I think we need to leave in that contingency fund enough money to, if it turns out we do need to get by and we do need to revise salary, we can do so. But we won't know until we know just how broad the scope of authority we can pass to this Chief Financial Officer is. Anybody got any questions, James? Or
no, sir.
Pete?
That sounds good.
No, I realized that, I was in support of putting in the request to abolish office, and I realized that's going to be a very difficult thing to do, and I've rethought it, and I hadn't heard Judge Butler's proposal, but I've been talking to other state officials, not official state, attorneys up in Austin and so forth that I've talked to and asking about this and trying to figure out how it could be done. And anyway, it seems like Judge Butler has come up with some way that it can be, and the day we talked about that in court here, I asked that it not be given to the auditor, that it be an independent person doing this accounting. And that sounds like what he's getting arranged here.
The auditor has her role.
Yes, yes, sir.
And I want her to be able to fulfill her role. And this person is kind of, I want her to be the front door, her, him, whoever it is, to be the front door to the money. And we'll know exactly what funds come in, when they come in, when they're deposited. And we're gonna have reconciled bank statements. We're gonna have reconciled records. That's just, Ms. Bloschke pointed out that she didn't think it ought to be one nickel off. I'm in agreement with you. I think those records ought to be reconcilable to the penny. There's no reason why they can't be and should be.
Judge.
Yes, sir.
How far along are we on this outside audit that you've got going on now? And what is the time period for the estimated time period for their completion, to finding out what is going on?
There's two answers of three. One answer is what we were trying to complete that we kept not being able to complete was the outside audit of the county's funds, the treasurer's records basically, that's performed every year by an auditing firm, an outside auditing firm, which is a CPA firm up in San Antonio. As I understand it, they will be reporting that audit result next week or this week?
Friday.
Friday. So they'll be reporting it Friday. Hopefully, they were able to get close enough to reconciling that they'll consider it an immaterial difference. We're asking them to still see if they can, get it down to the zero that we certainly think it ought to be. But Vi has pointed out to me that it wasn't zero when she came in office, and maybe we could get it back to where from the date she stepped in office, we got it all reconciled. We'll see. Another audit is underway, a forensic audit, just trying to see if there's any irregularities in the way the money's been handled. And that, I'm not in charge of it, and I don't know when it'll be ready, but it's ongoing. Okay? I wish I could be more specific, but that's all I can tell you at this point.
Okay.
And that is, like I said, it's underway right now. Does anybody else have any questions or comments regarding the...
Who's responsible responsibility is it when the books are not in balance? Whose actual responsibility is it to keep a check on that to make sure that they're in balance?
I think it's the treasurer's responsibility.
Not the auditor?
Nope.
Well, the auditor can catch things that are going wrong and can report them, which she's been
You need to
reporting.
read up about what the duties are
Okay.
of the county auditor.
All right.
Supposed to audit JP books quarterly, make sure that they're done properly, the money's received in properly, and if there is some discrepancy in the books, she's supposed to catch it.
I don't think you understand where the problem is. I'm trying to describe it to you, is that what's been detected by the audit so far, strictly of the treasurer's records, is that deposits are coming in, cash, some checks too, that don't get deposited for long periods of time. And then they finally do. The receipts are all out of order. I guess when you were treasurer, did you deposit all the receipts in the order they were received normally?
Definitely.
And did you deposit everything within the time periods required by law? Okay. If that wasn't happening, that'd be a problem, wouldn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's just piece one of this. Now, as far as the auditor doing her job, what she's supposed to do, I'm absolutely going to insist that that happen as well. And I haven't been in this office long enough to know exactly what's what regarding the auditor's responsibilities, how well they're being discharged, or anything else. But I can tell you that the forensic audit ought to show it all. So I'm confident that that's going to. If there's anybody hiding around here, hiding that money or doing anything wrong with our county's finances, we intend to find out about it. Okay? I can't emphasize to you how badly I want that to happen. But I can just take on one problem at a time.
It seems like to me if the two offices are working together, that this would have been caught before and just not allowed to continue on and on and on.
But who's going to
That's my
stop them
question.
from continuing on?
Well, what I'm talking about doing is putting a very professional person in place to manage our county's finances. It can be done, and we're not going to try to strip Vi of her job or anything like that. She's elected by the people. She can serve as long as she can serve. But as far as there are certain job duties to the Treasurer's Department that she's not been able to adequately fulfill. And I would like to get that taken care of by this position. Yes, sir.
Did I hear a motion that you're going to rescind your motion to do away with the county treasurer?
I am, but it's not on this. I didn't put it on this agenda.
But you will.
I will, as long as we get the CFO position in place. Yes, sir. I'm just trying to fix the problem. The best way I can.
Is this
That's
something that
what I'm
the
looking for.
forensic audit has suggested doing? Is it something that, are we going to have a report when this audit is completed that they suggested putting this new position in to straighten out?
That is not a result of the forensic audit. The forensic audit is ongoing. They don't have the results yet. It's what I'm making this recommendation on is based on the results of the outside audit of the treasurer's books and the bank accounts. Okay, that's what it's based on. And I think that in Vi's current position, with the complexity and the enormity of the cash coming through her offices and everything, is seemingly overwhelmed her. Okay, and I just want to get that straightened out. And I know, I think you asked me one time about the county judge position, what his qualifications are, and I've thought long and hard about that. And I think there are several things about the county judge's qualifications that probably ought to be modified. And be good if he was a lawyer and knew the law, and so he could be a good judge. Another one would be, it'd be nice to have someone who's actually operating as the chief administrative officer of the county, have some idea of administrating a business, either a governmental entity or a business. That would be great if you could have someone with those kind of qualifications. And I'm doing the best I can. I have some business knowledge. I mean, I handle a lot of business lawsuits and everything, but I'm far from as educated as I think somebody ought to be able to do it. This job is, if you do it right, is a absolute full-time job, and it takes a lot. And so I had no idea when I stepped into this thing just exactly what I was going to be faced with, but I'm trying the best I can in my brief tenure to get some things accomplished, at least get us on the right track. And you know, it's not a personal hunt for me, for anybody. I like Vine just fine. She was one of the friendliest, nicest people to me in the county. It's got nothing to do with that. It's just I feel like there are certain things that she's been unable to perform that perhaps we can get taken care of by another officer. And that's it. Anybody else have any comments?
I've got a comment. I agree with the course we're going to take. You know, one thing, treasurers don't like auditors, and auditors don't like treasurers. I mean, it's like dogs and cats. I mean, and quite frankly, you know, and that's maybe a bad way. I mean, something's going on like that now in the next county over. But, you know, once I first came in, I found out right quick that, you know, the commissioners really, all we do is pass budgets and policies more or less and listen to all the complaints and stuff, but we really can't control any one department. And this is a way that I think that the county, for us to create this financial officer thing so the court can actually monitor the money and monitor how it's being taken care of, and yet not violating any statutory duties of the treasurer or any statutory duties of the auditor. Just another set of eyes that I think that we can use to make sure we're taking care of the people's money. I hate that we get into the position that we've gotten into now, because it's created all type of controversy for one side or the other, however you want to do it, but or twist it. But the most important thing is that we get a handle on our finances as quick as possible, and we can maintain that fiscal responsibility on how it's being spent. A lot of times I'm sure things aren't coded correctly, or the department heads don't code things like it should be. So the auditors, as having to look at, well, where does it go? And when you get your monthly report, that's not where I was supposed to be or whatever, but hopefully we can get, you know, create a better fiscal responsibility for the county.
It's your money that is being handled. It's all your money, and I can't imagine that you don't want it handled in a very professional way. We're talking about millions and millions of dollars. And I mean, I know I want it that way. I think most of you do. And this is a path to get there. I hope it's the best path. It's the one that I feel like I'm most comfortable with, and I hope the commissioners are as well. Gentlemen, do we have consensus on those two things?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So everybody didn't get too surly this afternoon. Let's take a lunch break. It's just after noon. We reconvene at 1 o'clock. Is that all right for everybody? I'll see you back then. More fun and games. Yeah. We'll recess till 1. Yeah, second. Oh, man. o'clock, so we're ready to start. We had finished with the Treasury Department budget, and we're now proceeding with the County Tax Collector Department's estimated budget.
This is the name of the town right there. What is that? That's that was done on December 2002.
Okay, looks like our sister city is Lesnica, Poland.
I wanted to hear James say that.
I couldn't, that's why I said Lesnica. It was done on December 9, 2002.
Okay. The only thing I have on my budget, of course, as we discussed, is the bringing the salaries up to the mid-range. And I need to add to the printing of the tax notices and such, that if we should be faced with a rollback and the rollback passes and we have to reprint and resend statements, I got an estimate from P&A, and that would be about $8,000.
8,000.
Yes, sir. And that's all I have.
Hopefully, we will not be looking at that.
But we just wanted to
need
get the
put it in
numbers
there.
just in case. So.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you. All right, next, capital outlay estimated budget, 2014-15. You'll notice the computer expenses, software and such were transferred to IT. Road and bridge facility, if it's going to be budgeted, will be budgeted out of road and bridge. We've got an EMS facility, the jail's communications tower that ended up having to be a lot taller than, because it's a low elevation.
Carried over from last year.
Right. The courthouse restoration will be our share, I guess,
Yes.
of the roof construction. Yeah, what about the $250 for plans for the balance of the courthouse? Is that on a separate entry?
Yes,
it is.
Okay, that's separate. And jail, I guess that's the balance of the contract that we have this year is $5,574,1461.
I just want to make a comment on that probably $2.5 million of that is in our unencumbered balance, the bond funds. It's in there, so, we're putting a whole amount in there that to be spent, but that's
right.
Unencumbered balance.
So there's money, where is that in the?
That'd be correct.
How's that accounted for? Where is it, the unencumbered bond funds?
We put the bond funds in the total budget as a revenue item.
Okay.
And then whatever is left this year carries forward into next year. And it will carry over as unencumbered funds because it's something we did not spend in this fiscal year.
All right.
But that 5,570,000, that's the correct amount?
That is the dollar amount I got from Lorraine Daly.
The remainder of the contract.
Because I looked at maybe I looked at it wrong, but I looked at the capital outlay sheet that we produced. I think it was $5,282,000 that was yet to be used.
Shelby, we can't hear you. Did you use the microphone?
You will now, just turn it on.
I said it was like, I thought it was $5,282,000 that was left unencumbered.
You're talking about in this year's budget?
Yeah.
That hasn't been spent for the jail facility. That could be, but they also may have added some things and subtracted some things. And there's also some additions in the sheriff's department that will be used in the new jail, some soft kitchen items that were not included in the actual construction cost.
couple of other,
Radios, furniture.
yeah, a couple of other items, yeah.
Also, when I looked at that report, we didn't acquire any property, did we? For $8,000?
Are you talking about the expenditure report? That is the new air conditioning in the juvenile probation building. It was said to come out of that line item when we amended the budget.
Out of property?
Yes, because of the fact that our audit has not been finished, we cannot enter budget amendments yet. Once we get the adjustments on Friday from the outside auditors and can do that, then those items will be corrected.
Okay, thank you.
Pete, do you want to give a description of the record storage building with maintenance area?
Or we had planned a record storage building to be set behind this, built of brick, something like this, with one end of it to have a maintenance shop in it, with a restroom for the maintenance people that work here, Zane and his crew. And that would be a fully humidity and temperature control building for record storage. And that we have estimated $290,000, but that is one item that we do not have to have. That can be left out if we want to save some money in the budget. It's something that we could use, but it can be left out if we need to. We will need one someday.
You said we're going to need one someday.
Yes, we will. But we could leave that out for this year.
Yes, sir.
What's the estimated size of this record storage building, square feet?
It was a total of 60 by 24. The record storage department would be about 30 by 24, and the shop area 30 by 24.
How many square feet is that? About?
I think it'd be 720.
Sounds like a lot of money for 720 square feet.
Well, I asked the engineers, and that includes the parking lot back here, around there, sidewalk around to that end of the building. And they said $185,000. Actually, it's 720 feet for each of them, 30 by 24, 60 by 24 is the total size.
So it's twice.
1,200
1,440 square feet. And I was told $185 square foot probably wasn't enough for it.
$78,000 an acre that he came up with before.
Is the building fireproof? Is it fireproof?
What?
Will the building be fireproof? For record?
Yes. Fireproof. There would be no windows in the storage department of it, storage part of it. You know, enclosed building, humidity, temperature control. Preservation of records.
Any fire suppression?
Sir?
Any fire suppression?
Yes, wherever necessary. We have the lady who wants to comment. Just go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch. How many bids were solicited? How many bids were received?
There were no bids solicited. This is an estimated cost.
Okay.
If it's approved, then we don't even have it designed yet. We'll have to have it designed and bid.
Okay. That seems a little risky that we wouldn't even have plans yet and we're requesting an estimate with no drawings and we're going to put that into a budget.
Well, I used my expertise to come up with a price, and I asked a few engineers what they thought it would cost, and we came up with a price to put into a budget. And then we have to get it engineered before we can bid it, and it costs money to get it engineered and so forth, so we didn't have money to spend to get it engineered and bid before we put it in the budget.
Do we have an idea of how much the engineering will cost? Did we solicit numbers for that?
The engineer said that would include their cost. $185 a square foot would include their cost to engineer.
Pete, where are the documents you're referring to currently being stored?
Is whatever records we had. When I went to there's records now in the Karnes Cafe across the street. And a lot of those records have to be put in permanent storage. And of course I was told that building is good enough here about 6 months ago when this came up. I was told that that's good enough, they can stay stored in there, but I don't believe that's a permanent storage building. I was told at a conference 2 years ago in San Marcos that the counties are all going to be required to have permanent storage building for records. That's all the thing I'm going on. That we need a building.
Pete, and that would be my comment to him. Have we considered just tearing that down to put the building there instead of losing parking back here? Where it's at now?
New building before we tear anything down. What's the question?
Well, just replacing that building, just tearing that down, because there's probably some records in there that are probably not permanent records, and there's like old computers and things like that we have to keep because we have to surplus them. So a lot of that stuff in there now is junk, but there are some permanent records in there. But you know, that might be a spot to consider. I know it'd be a pain to move them all out, to move them back in, but get away from losing parking space back here. I mean, it's just a thought.
Is there any way that old building you think could be rehabilitated?
No, I don't think so. But I'm not that expert.
I would venture to think you would all need to see a document that said we were required to have a storage building by some entity, whatever it was in San Marcos. I mean, this is not really substantial evidence.
I think we just leave it all. Just go on. We can't leave this out.
They'll be arguing about it all day long.
All right, move on. We're just going to.
I do have a question on the jail. Can anybody explain how much of the bond has been sold? Where we're at on the $7 million spent? I mean, does anybody have a trail record on how much we spent last year in the budget on the jail? How much of the bond has been spent? Because as a taxpayer, you know, when we vote on $7 million, that's $7 million to me. If you go over to 9, that's fine. But now we're at 11, pushing 12. We've got 5.5 in this budget. How much did we have in last budget? How much of it is the bond? We need some clarity.
The full amount of the bond has been sold, and there are records within the auditor's department as to how much has been spent to date.
The math tells me that 557 will be the remainder of the bonds, and some portion is going to come out of the budget. That's where it has to be. So if the total price came to 11 or whatever, or 10 or 11, $7 million bond, we're going to pay 4 of it. Which, you know, I don't know how cost containment or whatever got away, but the fact that you don't sell debt or you don't take on debt for the entire purchase doesn't bother me. It does, I guess, a little bit bother me if the cost got way higher than projected, and you know there's not a real good explanation for how. But it's a done deal now. We got to go ahead and finish it, and it's going to cost us $4 million. That's money that was not sold in bonds. Now, if I'd have known it was going to be $11 million, I wouldn't have recommended selling more than about $4 million in bonds anyway, if that, considering. But anyway, that's what we've done, so we have to finish it.
I agree that we have to finish, but I wanted to know if we have to, shall we say, appoint and put in all of the beds, do we have to decorate to start out?
Or is there more cost beyond just what's in this contract?
Correct.
Sheriff, do you know?
Everything that's included that's going to be brought in. I was told it was already,
Hey, but do you think that this contract price that was signed on is going to give you a ready to put prisoners in jail?
The 48 beds or 50 beds you're talking about? Yes.
That's the way we're. I know not the expanding capacity, but this is supposed to be turnkey. You can start loading people in as soon as
it's completed. Yes, sir.
You're not going to have to buy this stuff.
Judge, when you're talking about $11 million, that's not just the four walls. It's all the contents that go with it. I mean, from the linens to the pants and all that. And there was just 1 or 2 items, 3 items you'll see in our budget that were left off. The rest of it's a turnkey job. Everything inside.
All right. Okay. What else?
Has the EMS facility been discussed?
Nope. Number 1 item up there.
Come before this commission court on a number of occasions. It's come before the commission court on a number of occasions over the years, and in each and every instance, the architect was given a budget of $500,000. Am I correct? And every time she comes back with a drawing, we go right back to $1.2 million. Now, I'm not against the building or the EMS. They need one, and they've needed one for a couple of years. We keep kicking this can. I do believe that the architect is way out of bounds. I think if we were to solicit some bids from individuals who build steel buildings with 3 bays, an office, storage space, plus a wash bay, and a space in there for the JP1 to conduct her business and her court, I still believe it can come in at something less than $500,000.
Agreed.
I'm not saying do away with it. You can shake your head all you want to, but I'm telling you, nobody. Hold on a second. Let me finish. I've got the floor. This commissioner's court, I think, has been remiss because we've let somebody else do your work. And you as a body have not gone out and asked for bids. You haven't gone to Victoria or San Antonio and not given any information at all and asked for a bid for a building to satisfy our requirement.
Raise on the bid part of it. Formal bids we can't get until we submit plans and specifications, which they'll construct. And it seems to me what you really are thinking would be a better idea, tell me if this is it, is that we get a new design, get somebody else to draw up some plans, see if they can make it cheaper, and have that then submitted for bids.
There are several companies, and they will send a representative with their little Apple computer, and they can sit with you and design a building while they're sitting there, and when they're done, they can give you an approximate cost. And it will be an engineer stamped building. And these guys are very good at what they do. All I'm saying is I agree that the EMS needs a building. They need it badly. There's
no doubt about that. Everybody agrees with that one.
I think we're being a little.
You just think she over-designed it.
I agree. Yes. Exactly.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there state code requirements, considering the type of building that this is? Obviously, it's considered a commercial building, but because it does house EMS, it does house court, are there state code requirements that perhaps this architect is privy to and we as the citizenry are not?
I don't know.
Yes, there are.
There are, okay.
That's
You would
why
kind of think there would be, but I don't know.
I
that
would,
for
but then
sure.
I'd also think we'd have fire suppression in here, but.
Let's not go there.
Then,
Here's a way maybe to look at it. Maybe we ought to put in the budget enough money to build this building, and then in the budget we direct that we seek an alternative plan for the building that would also meet whatever specs are required by the state, if there are any, assuming there are, and see if we can come up with any better. We'll have to spend the money, maybe, to get those specs drawn up. And maybe not, maybe Maurice can clue us in to somebody who's a steel building builder, wants the business, would come up here and for free draw us up plans and let us submit his plans for bid with other companies. I'm not sure that anybody will do that, but you know, maybe they will.
So last year we need to consider that we sat in here and we were actually considering buying the Texas Regional Building, which was a metal building for $500,000. So that was one of the options for the county last year, or 400 and something. Tracy, you might remember. So you know, there's a lot of metal building, EMS buildings out there that are not just, you know, they're just basic buildings. I mean, Mr. Kelly might know what was in the building that was Texas Regional.
Now we will have to add on several hundred feet. I'm not sure exactly how many, but several hundred feet to accommodate the JP's office. Because we're on the verge of losing that lease, such as it is. And we're going to have to get that taken care of. And I don't want to, you know, I want the building to serve its purpose, to adequately house the personnel and all that. But I don't want to spend more money than we have to for it. I just don't know how much, you know, my recommendation would be to just have this amount approved in the budget and then to put in that we don't approve that being constructed until we've received an alternate bid and see if we can do it cheaper and adequately. I want to stress that to Mr. Kelly. I don't want to put you in a building that is out of some kind of code that you have to comply with or doesn't do what it's supposed to do, and one that won't house the judge. So I think that's what I'd recommend to do. Yes, Splashy?
Why don't you take the plan that this lady's got drawn up and put it out for bids, specs and bids?
And we can turn the law down if we want to.
That way you could.
Why not? Because it's over designed.
Why do you need another plan? Take that plan.
But because that plan is over designed, I think, is part of the problem. That's what runs the cost up. Over designed. And architects paid on a percentage, and so they tend to over design things to get a more, you know, in their pocket. I mean, it's kind of layman terms, but
we have to spend some money on the bid process. You know, even if we didn't accept the bids. But we're going to have to spend some money, I think. I think in order to get a fair plans that will be authorized to submit for bids to competitors, we're going to have to pay somebody to design that. I don't think they'll just come out here, draw it up and say, here, pass this around and see see what they'll charge you for my design. I don't think so. So that's what we're faced with. So my thought is, put this in the budget and let's see what we can get in the way of plans and how much money it will cost us. And then if we can get it done to meet state specs and it's adequately designed for what we need, we can go with a cheaper version. Anybody got any better ideas? I'm willing to hear them. Yes, ma'am.
Point of clarification. There already is an architect on board that is working on a design?
Has prepared one, as I understand
So
it.
I'm guessing that there have been architectural fees paid.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct? And those architectural fees would be based on what the architect assumes the construction cost is going to be, because as this gentleman pointed out, and I know because I manage an architecture office, fees run anywhere from 15 to 23%, depending on what you're building and who you're building it for. So we've already got monies budgeted for the drawings, correct? Right, perhaps in a previous budget?
I think they've already been spent, haven't they? Yes. Yeah, it's already been spent.
Okay, so we've already spent the architectural fees.
Yes.
Do we still owe architectural fees for completed documents?
No, but there should be architectural fees for supervision of construction.
Oh, yes, definitely for construction management, sure.
No matter what building.
But we've paid for the
We
design.
don't have one. Yes, ma'am.
So if we paid for the design, and that was easily tens of thousands of dollars?
Anybody have the number?
Where's the contract?
Yeah,
we
would be walking away from an investment.
Yeah, so it would seem prudent to work with the architect and simply take a stand, perhaps. This is our budget. We appreciate the ornate Karneses, but we really don't need them.
I don't think you had any of that on that.
The building, the architect came and met with the EMS department. And she came back with one design that was way overdone, and it was pointed out to her. So Mr. Kelly and Mr. Ibram, met with her, and I met with her, and we decided we wanted to create that facility about the size of that trailer house, you know, for the living quarters, not taking into consideration the 3 bays we would need. So it's just bare minimum of what we need, what they feel they need to function in. And then we came in and added another few 100 square feet just for the judge. We just made common sense to have the judge in the county building, so we wouldn't have to worry about all that anymore. And the building will be holding, you'll have 2 crews there, you know, 24. Well, you got 2 crews there, 24/7, 365. So people are going to be living in that thing almost half their time. So each crew will be spending half their time for the year in that building. And it's got, you know, it's nothing that's really exuberant. It's just 3 bays and storage, a little meeting area, and living quarters. That's basically about it. And a couple of offices. That's about it. The county up on the side of San Antonio, I talked the other day, they're building a facility that's going to be 6,000 square feet, and their bid's coming in right at $2 million. So
through the same architect?
I'm not for sure.
What about Mueller Incorporated? They advertise building turnkey things and having free estimates, I think. And some of the pictures that they have shown are some outstanding looking buildings. So, I mean, that would just be one thing to look into, Mueller Incorporated out of Texas.
All the metal building companies can design a building. They design a way station out there.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't do all the amenities that go inside it.
So it's not turnkey, then you still have to have another contractor come in.
Yeah, you have to get the finish out and all the
I won't say that none of them do, but generally.
I mean, I think too, you know, some people will tell you, well, you know, we can build a building for X dollars square feet, but yet I don't think we're building homes that way either. We're trying to get the best bang for our buck. We want this building to last more than 20 years. That old station that they lived, that was out of, has been there probably 50 years, and it's barely hanging on as it is. And I agree with Mr. Yarder that it's not the question that the facility is needed. It's
right.
just trying to get the best bang for the buck.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
In my estimation, now this is what I'm recalling. Didn't this architect design this building? Didn't she design the jail?
Did not design
No. She designed the jail.
Okay, but it seems like every time she's designed something, we've been way over budget by the time it's over with.
Well, that's been the point of contention, I think. A number of people, and not necessarily without justification, have come to doubt that she can spend on budget. That's what I keep hearing expressed. I don't know if that's true or not. She seems to be a competent architect and all that. I don't know what her motivations are, whether she's, you know, pumping up expenditures or over designing a building to get the, to make more money. There's certainly business motivation to do that. I don't know whether she would do that or not. She also seems to be interested in, pardon me, long-term relationship with the county, and you won't have one if you screw up your clients like that unless people aren't paying attention. And so, I think we need to examine this. We're going to certainly have future work that we're going to have done. And the new commissioner's court will have to decide whether or not they want to utilize her services or if she's, been a little too pricey for us in the past. But where we are right now is we have a design. We could submit 2 bids to see what comes in. Or we can go out and seek an alternative design. We're going to have to pay something for it. So we'll pay architecture twice, and we can see if that one comes out cheaper. It could be that it doesn't. I mean, everybody's assuming that we can get it done cheaper, and it may be, but it may not be too. I'm not an expert in constructing EMS buildings and what all they have to put in them. I don't think any of us are, and so we might end up just paying some extra architecture fees for nothing. I don't know.
How many square feet is that building be?
1,440. That comes out to $800 a square foot.
That's the little building over here.
The EMS facility? The EMS facility is close to 47. 42, 47, somewhere around
4,700?
Yeah.
Was there it just seems like sometimes things aren't just really thoroughly thought through before something is built. Just like, it's like, and I come to these meetings, so if I heard correctly that they had a problem with the soil or something before they started, which even threw the jail off almost $1 million before we even started.
Yes,
that's the jail.
Yeah.
I know that I'm talking about the jail.
You're
that
right.
is the same architect.
No.
So no, that's not.
She did. What you would have to do is normally before you buy a piece of property, and it's what uses can be used. You have a geotechnical report prepared. You actually go out and test the soil type, determine how it's going to stand up, what kind of foundation work you're going to need, and all that. And I don't know if that was done or not.
So that was my
should
question.
be.
So has that been done for the going to build the EMS building?
I think so.
So I was just wondering. So could that?
The engineers,
have they done that?
the architect should have seen to it that was done. Do you know, Pete?
3656.
I don't know what soil testing.
3,064 for the base, and the JP office is 597.
Because that's what, right, $400 a square.
I don't know about the square. Those are the 2 places right now. I didn't get included. I didn't get that number right. It shows the office space in that storage area. JP's office is 597.
So you don't know if they checked them or not?
I'll find out.
Checking that asbestos in the soil.
The soil is, it's out there where the road and bridge department is now. And who knows what uses that place has been put to before. The jail property, unfortunately, turns out to have been used. There's an old orange gin out there, and who knows what all stuff crossed that threshold. But anyway, that's, like I said, water under the bridge now. What we need to start doing, I think you're suggesting and should be done, is prior to the purchase of any property, for any use the county's going to put it to, we ought to have a report on its soils, any contamination problems. You can require a, EPA 1, or I can't remember the number, but you can require a survey to be done of the property to make sure there's no contamination present. Because what looks like a great deal in a perfect spot may turn out to be a bigger headache than you can imagine. And it turned out to be at least $1 million worth of headache for us at the jail. probably more than that when you count all the lost time and everything that's spent trying to correct those foundation piers that turned out to have bad concrete.
And that really all came about because we didn't check in before we started this problem. A lot of times we don't check into something and then we end up with a problem.
I don't know the history of it, so I can't tell you, but I'm just telling you, going forward, that's what we're all about here right now, is going forward, we think these are the sort of things we have to do in every instance. You know, just, you know, be careful with what you do, you know, really have a, you know, these are big contracts that we sign off on, and we ought to have an experienced lawyer review those things, and I'm not, certainly no criticism of her. Her was doing a great job, but we need to make sure that those are reviewed by a lawyer who knows the particular field that he's dealing with. You know, and it ain't me. You know, it's got to be somebody who's really expert in that field. So, look, we're going to take some bumps along the road. What's happened here is all this growth's happened so explosively, and we're trying to catch up. And we probably haven't had the sophisticated systems in place to make sure these sort of things don't happen. But we can put them in place for the future and don't make any of the same mistakes twice. And I think that's what we need to do, and we need to form possibly some sort of a committee on real property acquisitions for the county and have these sorts of examinations made. A committee for professional services like architecture and things like that to make sure that we, you know, look around and make sure we're getting the right people. Now, I know Pete has been very comfortable working with Lorraine. She's really helped a lot getting through the various stages of the courthouse construction that we've gone through, and he feels has done a good job with the jail. The costs and all of that, I don't know how all that happened, to be honest with you, but, and I've been around her enough, she knows what she's talking about, but it seems to me like everybody's fear is that she's over-designing or overbuilding some things for the sake of money. You know, I know the temptation is there for somebody to do that. I hope she's not. But we can investigate and make sure that doesn't happen in the future.
So it's like, you know, things go up, it's just not like a couple $100,000. It's like, you know.
Oh, I know. And I know also that construction costs down here have just gone through the roof in no time. You know, you used to be able to get, I can't even get anybody to do anything for me anymore. Any price, can't even get them to come out. And, you know, so there's just so much demand for skilled services and skilled craftsmen. It's hard to get things done. So, you know, once again, my recommendation on this, and I hope it at least partially satisfies everybody, that we do one of two things. One is go ahead and build it, go ahead and submit it for bids and see if it comes in at this or lower, the bid. Or another one is to pay for another architect or whatever we need to have that is qualified and is aware of what the regulations are that affect an EMS building to come up with an alternative plan. But I don't know whether they're going to be able to develop a plan that's any cheaper. And we're risking just paying for nothing. So those are the alternatives that I see it. What do you guys want to do? Any other comments?
No, you're requested to go ahead and leave the same amount there, but go out for other bids, right? If we get it done cheaper, then we'll do it cheaper, but leave the same amount that we have now.
That's for you guys to decide whether you want to do that or just go ahead and build it.
Leave it in there, and if you find somebody cheaper, you don't have to spend it all anyway.
That's true. All right, so Road and Bridge will have to get consent of the Commissioners Court to proceed with submitting plans to bid. And if there's EMS, what did I say? Road and Bridge?
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to pick on you. Anyway, that's what we'll do, I guess. So just leave the amount in the budget and we'll decide whether or not that's something to proceed on or try to get cheaper. You've heard the people speak. I mean, you know, a lot of them do want to try to get something cheaper. Some don't.
I just don't want it to be more than what's budgeted, the way it's been run.
Well, no, you know, the only problem I see is, well, what if we got plans, these and some other plans, and we can't get it built for less than $1.5 million? What do we do then? We got to build something, and you know, we could specify the additional plan if we get one made would be bare minimum. We can scrutinize it, make sure it meets statutory specs and everything, but scrutinize it and say, well, we don't need this or we don't need that. And I'm not familiar enough with those plans to say whether there's anything you can really throw out of it. It may be.
What made Mr. Kelly's EMS building any differently than, than what we're going to try to build? What was the difference between the one that he had for sale that we didn't purchase and then the one that we're trying to build?
But I don't know, and you know, how long ago was that, Mr. Kelly?
Last year. What happened was there was a recommendation of the previous administrator that that building was not suited for an EMS service. That was almost quote unquote. It was tabled on the agenda, and this is just my best memory. It was tabled on the agenda, and then Mr. Schindel, I believe, brought it up because some people were concerned that we don't want to let that building go. We have a chance to buy a building. It was brought back up again, and the administrator at the time said it was not fit for an EMS service to expand. That was a recommendation from him, and the court accepted that.
But so legally there was nothing that was like you were not in out of a code or violation or anything for the building that you had that you were operating at the time.
Texas Regional.
There
was an EM service in it.
Please
understand that. Texas Regional Ambulance Service was in it.
No, I just was wondering, like,
I don't know. I'm sure if there was another one available right now that was suitable, we'd certainly look at it. But seeing the prices of land around here escalate to the extent that they have, makes me wonder where we could find anything like that. And I don't know whether that had any room for a courthouse in it, you know. Not a courthouse, but a court, you know, about 500-600 feet worth of courtroom space for the JP. Okay? All right? Yes, ma'am.
I'd just like to speak in support of building a building that is going to last our EMS service for a number of years. I spent 31.5 years working out of the used radiator shop. That was the old EMS station. I have a lot of experience that I think probably most of you do not have. We need a building that is going to be able to house the ambulances, have a place that they can be prepared, you know, daily so that they're ready to go out and to respond when the tone goes off. We need a place for, so that they can be restocked. We need a place to have our supplies and all of that. And let me tell you, when you have been out in 105, 110 degree heat index temperatures for a couple of hours, and you have to come back into that station, or that we do have very cold weather. The station that we had no air conditioning, and it didn't even have good sealed windows. Either you're fighting the fan to get restocked and cleaned up, or you know it may be very cold in there. I think our EMS personnel deserve better treatment than that, and I think they absolutely need to have some consideration for a building that is going to be something that can help us provide this service. Being an EMT, a paramedic, is not an easy job. It is one absolutely, I take my hat off to these gentlemen and the ladies who provide the service for us now. And they're out on the road a whole lot more now than they were during the time that I served. And so I hope that you'll please give that some consideration. This isn't a figure that's going to be spent once a year for every 10 years. It's probably a figure that's going to be spent once for maybe the next 40, 50 years. You know, and hopefully there'll be better maintenance with the building than what we had in the past. But you know,
we did the best we could with what we had, and at the time. But I think that this is the time that we really need to support our EMS. I think our citizens in the county, from one border to the other, I think they expect the service. I think we deserve, and we really need to give some consideration, certainly, to having a good first class. And it doesn't have to be everything that and I've never been in an EMS station that I thought was a fancy place. But we need something that is going to serve our personnel better.
All right, what else?
I just want to bring back, we were talking about the jail and it being fully equipped. The 7 of the last 8 items, not the $850,000 on the capital outlay, are additional costs to making the jail usable. You'll notice that there's additional furniture for DPS and other personnel. There's the phone system, there's an audio-visual system for the courtroom, the network server and data for 50 workstations and computers in the jail, as well as dispatch relocation and additional equipment. So that's an additional $275,000 that's in the budget to make the jail facility operational.
Okay.
That audio visual, what is that for what courtroom?
That's for the courtroom in the jail.
There's going to be a district courtroom, a courtroom in the jail that will be used for district courts and other courts.
What are we going to do across the hallway? What are all those camera systems for?
Security.
Well, 20 East Calvert, 2010 West Calvert, what buildings are those going
200 East Calvert is the tax office, treasurer's office, and auditor's office. 210 West Calvert is this building here.
Okay.
What all does that include? Hallways, every room, camera?
I have no earthly idea. Robert, do you know?
As far in the jail or here? In the jail, we'll have in the hallways, in the Sally Port areas, rec areas, the different areas that need to be monitored. The other camera systems that you're asking about is the ones that are in this building and also down the annex. They will be monitored over at the jail on Wall Street. So they're going to try to put, the last time I heard, we're going to put all the programs, the same people that are going to work on the camera system from the county jail are going to also control the camera systems that are in this facility and also the one on Calvert Street.
Since you're no longer going to have law enforcement in this building or the other building after we move over there, this camera system will all be tied together so it'll be monitored from that jail, basically. And it's going to replace the old style that we have in this building right now. Basically the ones you see out in the hall right now, they're old obsolete cameras, that everything will be tied together in one unit. Since the sheriff is initially involved in security for all the buildings.
And the camera system in this building, if you notice, the only cameras that you have is on the side, on the front, and here, but there's nothing in the back area. As far as the parking lot, there's nothing there, so that would also be added.
It'll be the interior hallways and the exterior of the building.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's correct.
That's correct.
But in this jail, you'll have each individual room, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You have to.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I'm well aware of what the jail security would be for. The security cameras on this building and the other ones are for, since the criminals will not be coming over here for court once the jail is open.
You'll still have court here across the hall, so if you're going to have some of it there, and then you have, nighttime break-in cameras. Basically, if somebody comes and breaks into this building or the other one. So,
And for the other offices, the financial offices?
yes, the monitor those also. There will be an interior camera inside that office unless we request one in there where the money's handled. There will be over there at the other tax office. Yes, sir.
Did we finish
Well,
EMS?
I'm sorry?
Did we finish with EMS?
For now. I think what we're gonna do on the EMS, put this in the budget, and then see if we can find another bid of a good building. You know, we're not gonna get
There was
something uncertain.
just one other point, I have a question regarding a $38,000, almost $39,000 for a command truck. Why do you need a command truck?
We're not in this yet. We're in capital outlay right now.
We're still capital outlay?
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Anything else?
So in this particular budget, we are going to omit the 290,000?
Yes, I believe so. Is that consensus?
What about that 850,000 that's on the bottom?
That
Tyler
is.
Technologies.
Who wants to explain that? That's.
I can try. That is a software, Tyler Technologies does a software that is a court management software package that would integrate all of the departments, the county clerk, district clerk, county attorney, the sheriff's office, and the JPs if they wanted to go with that. It integrates so that when we issue warrants, it's all electronic. When we recall warrants, when cases are filed, when someone is arrested, it's in there. It's all integrated, and it's also part of the package that's going to help us with the e-filing when it starts in 2016. It has a module in there that accepts the e-filing for us, puts it into a file, an electronic file, so that we can file cases, and then it goes on to wherever it needs to be after that.
Okay.
The one we're using now is Hill Country, and it's very primitive. I don't know how the sheriff's office uses theirs, but ours is very primitive. We have to do about 10 steps to get to one place where we need to be. I don't know how long it's been here. It's been here for quite a while.
Isn't just about everybody in the state of Texas going on Tyler Technology?
A lot of people are going to Tyler. They have different categories also. They have land record management, court management. I think they have a finance package. They have a lot of things, but they are kind of the premier company.
Basically, it's a technology upgrade. That's what it is. You know, to systematically upgrade our computers, have them all in the same system. I think we ought to make it, the JPs probably ought to get on this technology. If we're going to spend the money on it, there's no reason to leave them out. And put the JP offices on it, make sure they get the training needed to use it.
Even though this is in the budget, it would still be a bid item. We would have to go out for bids on it.
Gotcha. All right.
Pretty big item to, well, you have our Tyler Technologies. I just wonder if we wouldn't be committed to Tyler Technologies. I think we should hire, if we're going to have an IT department, hire an IT tech and get his input into it before we commit to Tyler Technologies. All I'm saying. See what he has.
Well, I think we have to bid it.
You have something?
Yeah, we're going to have to submit it to bids anyway. It may be that Tyler is the only company who would be able to offer these things. Anything else?
Is 115 North Market, is that the juvenile building?
Yes.
Where are they going to put a parking lot at?
Who's going to answer that?
What was that question?
Where are they going to put?
We have $45,000 for a parking lot inside.
Oh, that's at the juvenile probation. That's something that we're gonna put a new door in. We have one border at put in the west side where that fence-in area is with blue Venetian blinds in the fence, west of the southwest of the juvenile probation building. And we were going to put 8 or 9 parking spaces in that thing. And that's another thing. It doesn't have to be, but if someone buys that lot across the street, it's going to get pretty crowded parking out there on the front street. I just put that in there that we could do some parking there and have a better entrance than that front steps of that juvenile probation building. It doesn't have to be, but I have it in the budget.
We debated it last year. Last year, we elected not to do it last year.
What do you want to do this year? Want it in or out?
We can take it out. And that $100,000 for demolishing the old jail, they can take it out too. They can sit there another year. No sense in knocking it down. We can use it for storage if the historical people will let us.
We're not gonna release it. We already been down that road.
It belongs to them right now. Just leave it there. If they want to knock it down, they can knock it down.
Well, they won't. You know, they won't knock the jail down. So,
Maybe for the next 48 years.
I don't know, if we're gonna go to the trouble, and we are, the restoring the courthouse, to leave that old eyesore up there, old hazardous old building, you know, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I think what you should do is wait until you finish the courthouse and then you can knock it down.
Well, are you sure
It
you
might
have
be a
the
long
authority to
time
knock
before
it
that
down?
happens.
I'm sorry?
Are you sure you have the authority to
Yes,
knock it down? You
yes,
click on that?
yes. They prefer that it be knocked down.
Let them pay for it.
They won't.
You ask?
Yes, ma'am.
Roundabout way.
You're basically talking about an aesthetic issue, and of course, we've got aesthetic issues in Karnes County. But I think with the budget that, with all due respect, you're looking at anyway, deferring this for one more year is not going to be the end of the world. And I think that's all that anybody's saying. I think that's all Mr. Schendel is saying.
And that may
Let's
be,
defer.
He might be making sense that since we're doing several capital expenditures, building major EMS building, things like that, it won't be repeated. Maybe this is the best time to leave that on the side. And we just put it in the budget when we budget to complete the courthouse.
One step at a time.
Okay, I think that makes sense. All right, let's take that out. Jail demolition gone. We're leaving the 45,000 or whatever it is for the parking, or is it coming out?
Okay, take it out, just leave a couple thousand in there to finish that door and some more for restroom repairs in that building. I think it's further down, it says $5,560 for $5,560 for restroom repairs, etc., and some roof repairs on it.
Right, well, we need to make the building work.
Take the 45,000 out and leave at least $2,000 more to complete that door on that side and whatever other little repairs we need.
All right.
There's a lot of things that can be done in there.
115 Market Street can be 75,560. And that's
pretty well neglected.
All right, we're done?
Yes, sir.
Commissioners?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to Courthouse Maintenance Department's estimated budget, 2014-15. Zane, you got anything you want to talk about? You understand there will be some salary adjustments.
Well, I guess I talked to Pete about it, so that's just some scrap and maintenance stuff. I really don't want to be dealing with a 200,000 mile vehicle for $13,000.
We should be able to get something better than that.
Well,
You think it's going to take, what, somewhere south of 20?
up to you. I had a quote there, just like a road and bridge.
truck now, with toolboxes. Some of the best bids I got were around 35, something like that.
But that's my new vehicle.
Yeah, that was pretty simple new truck, but service body truck. And since we don't have a maintenance building, this vehicle will be carrying any county tools in it.
I understand. Go ahead and take out 20, get a better bid.
Yeah, we would say if you get anything down that price anyway, we look at more than the credit. I know it's your maintenance for it.
For the service body?
You spend 13,000, you're gonna have some repairs on it, or 20,000. For both of them.
35 average price for service body.
I'd recommend we take that to 20 and probably up at $750 maintenance.
Okay.
No, I'm just forgetting to speak into it. Sorry. I'll try. Anything else? Anybody? The fire suppression. Here's what I'd like to do about that. I would like to study the possibility or study the cost and the time frame of getting all those documents put in digital format where we don't have to worry about that. Now, that's not so we want our courthouse to burn down or anything, but you know, it's an awful lot of money for a very specific purpose of protecting documents. And if those documents are going to be converted to a digital format anyway, I don't think we need to.
I agree.
Okay, so let's.
However, if this is a public building, and
Yes.
if you take away the fire suppression for documents, we have we have a meeting in here today.
There are lots of people in here.
And if I'm not mistaken, I would just about bet that you're almost required by some kind of state code to have some kind of fire suppression in a public building. I mean, I'm not talking about the documents. I'm talking about a water sprinkler system that we have fire here all of a sudden.
Zane, you know anything
Well,
about that?
it just the city didn't require it when this building was being done. That's why this building didn't get a sprinkler system. The city code did not have fire code.
Oh.
So that's why the new jail has to have it all, because they were all catching up too with all our.
So the city has enacted such code now, but we're grandfathered.
Basically, it was grandfathered.
Okay.
And that's all I have in the budget here was just getting a better fire